Hello, friend, and welcome. My name is David Roy Newby, author of 4 books and founder of GoldPlusCoin.com. Today, I'm going to share with you 3 key strategies to survive and thrive in the current time and in the next few years to come to protect yourself from inflation, bank uncertainty, digital IDs, CBDCs, in the WS Agenda 2030 of You'll Own Nothing and Be Happy. I commit to the next 15, 20 minutes. This time will be very, very valuable for you. I'm not going to do a 45 or 90-minute webinar thing trying to value stack. If you're worth multi-millions or multi-billions, this presentation is for you. I'm going to give you straight to the point strategies, examples of implementing it, where you can quickly benefit from this presentation. How can I be so confident that you're going to get that value? Since I published my book, Beyond Billions, I've had the privilege to talk to 139 billionaires, including David Green from Hobby Lobby, and a couple other high-profile billionaires from crypto and other sectors. Not a lawyer, not a CPA, don't play one on TV, but I do have a lot of accumulated wisdom from consulting with those 139 billionaires. Additionally, for the last 30 years, I have been studying the teachings of King Solomon, who in today's money was worth $8 trillion, and he made all that money from business, not from conquering other nations near him. So to put that in perspective, Elon Musk is getting near $1 trillion net worth. He had $4 trillion of cash alone through innovating in business. So you will get benefit from this presentation, even if you're already a multi-billionaire. So in order to deal with inflation, uncertainty, and be able to access your assets, even in a CBDC scenario, there are some key Solomon principles that I want you to keep in mind as we're going through this presentation. Number one, with all that get knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. Never rely upon your past successes. Always be learning new things and stay curious and inquisitive like a child. This is how you keep yourself sharp. Number two, in the house of the wise are many beautiful treasures, and wealth is not secure for future generations. It's vital that you pass on not only your skill sets, but your values to the next generations very strategically in order to preserve and grow your wealth and maximize your legacy. Number three, a wise person sees danger and they take precaution. A fool keeps going and they suffer for it. It's vital that in this season of CBDCs and digital IDs being rolled out, that you take specific strategic precaution. And this webinar will equip you on how to do that. And last but not least, divide your portion of 7 or 8, for you don't know what misfortune may happen on the earth. All modern financial planning is based upon that teaching of Solomon. It's important that you apply this teaching and be very creative in the way you think of sectors that you invest in. So let's jump right into the challenges on how to address them. Problem number one, bank uncertainty. More bank failures are likely. There's a lot of banks that are at risk of dying, just like happened to Silicon Valley Bank. When your money is frozen, banks oftentimes freeze money. Sometimes you never get it back. Sometimes it takes 6 months to a year to get it back in the case of a bank failure or a liquidity crunch. And so, get a couple of real examples. I have a friend who did a $350,000 wire from one bank to another. For 3 months, he could not find out where the money was. The receiving bank said they didn't get it. The sending bank said they sent it. It was a nightmare. I know another group of people who invested $26 million into an investment, and for the first few months, that investment did great, and then that money was frozen for over 6 months. So there's no amount of money that can basically keep you set for life. You need to be really wise and apply Solomon's wisdom to deal with bank uncertainty. And bank uncertainty, I feel, is only going to get greater in this era of CBDCs getting rolled out. Second challenge you want to address is inflation. All currencies are fiat right now since Nixon closed the gold window in 71. For all of human history, for the last 6,000 years, every fiat currency has become worthless. Venezuela in 2023 had 193% inflation. Their money basically became worthless. I personally know someone from Colombia who experienced from 2018 to 2020 3 million people walking from Venezuela into Colombia when Venezuela ran out of food. So inflation is no joke and needs to be taken seriously. Sadly, when there is a recession and an economic strain, usually central bankers just print more money, and that makes the inflation worse. It steals more of your purchasing power. And the result, if central bankers don't stop printing, is you get hyperinflation, which can literally wipe out all your wealth in 2 to 3 years. I know two different friends who lived in the same African country. They each had $6 million. Um, One lady, she was an older lady. Her grandson, who worked in the gold industry, told her, "Grandma, our government started to print a lot of money. You should convert your savings into gold and silver." She did not listen to him, and 2 years later, she could not even buy a loaf of bread with her $6 million. The second family owned a chain of stores, convenience stores, and they had built up $6 million of wealth. And they saw the inflation going on. They did convert their money to gold and silver. And 2 years later, they still had their $6 million of purchasing power. So it's very vital that you don't just over rely upon any one currency from a government, because that can really wipe you out financially. Third problem to address, this I think this is the biggest one that's really important to take to strategically deal with, is digital IDs and CBDCs. The EU is rolling out their CBDCs right now. Um, they seem to love to control their people. The UK is rolling out digital IDs. They say it's for people's safety, but that I think is just another control mechanism. Even in the United States, Palantir is developing digital ID technology, and the government's considering using them to track illegals. Just like taxes were initially, income taxes were created and said they'll only be used for the ultra wealthy, then they got used on everyone. Something similar could happen even in the United States with digital IDs. God willing, it doesn't, but it could. Now, the threat of CBDCs and digital IDs is not some far flung idea. It's already happened in India, and people already died from it. Hackers broke into the system, stole several thousand people's digital IDs. They could not buy or sell, and they starved to death. So that could happen to you in any country if you live in a country where your government tries to force you to use a central bank digital currency. Now, if you're in crypto like me, or you've been using crypto to pay your bills like I have the last 12 years, even crypto won't save you in that scenario. Not even Bitcoin, because you need a few other pieces to do commerce without being forced to use a CBDC besides just the crypto rails themselves. I will go over how to strategically prepare and preserve yourself in that scenario if you do happen to live in a country where CBDC is rolled out. So let's get right into the game plan. So, number one, with banking. In America, 187 banks are at risk of failing. The FDIC, this is what the insurance company that's supposed to insure your savings, does not have enough cash to cover you. So what I recommend is keep a maximum of 350,000 in any one account. Have accounts with two banks minimum. I also recommend have an account with at least one with one of the too big to fail banks, one of the big banks in your country, and also a small bank or local credit union in your local country and currency. I also recommend you have an account in at least one other country and one other currency. Ideally, if you have 3 or 4 countries that you operate in, for example, it's quite easy with the bank I work with in the Caribbean to open an account there. You don't even need to fly down there in person. You can have access to 17 different currencies in that Caribbean bank. So you don't have to go to 4 different countries to have accounts in 4 different currencies. Maybe if you live in Europe, you have something somewhere in Asia and something Isle of Man. If you live in America, maybe you do something in the Caribbean and something in Asia, Dubai, Singapore, other places that are very good for international banking. Now, in terms of protecting your bank accounts and diversifying your currencies, I also recommend only keep a third of your cash in the bank. A third, I recommend putting in precious metals, and a third in physical cash. And physical cash is a pain in the butt to carry around. You can't really carry more than $10,000 cash without declaring it. So for that reason, if you do international business like I do, I recommend holding Tether USDT and also USDC for digital dollars to do international transactions. So for metals, how do you diversify with metals? Number one, for your physical metals, I recommend keep them in a fireproof, waterproof safe. You also don't want to just buy bars and coins. The bars and coins I recommend, get them from goldsilver.com or kitco.com, or the Johnson Matthey 1 ounce bars, both gold and silver. Also the American Eagle 1 ounce silver and gold coins. Now, if you know history of money, sometimes governments outlaw private ownership of gold. It happened in America from the early 1930s to the early 1970s. So for 40 years, they outlawed the ownership of gold. However, they did not like try to force citizens to turn in their gold jewelry. So if you look at this last thing on number two, Tal jewelry, Tael. A Tal is something that is basically considered jewelry. It's family heirloom, but it's uniform size. So, so you have coins for gold, pure gold. You have a quarter ounce, a half ounce, and a 1 ounce, and they literally look like a donut. So imagine having a bracelet or a necklace with 40 to 100 taels on it. You could literally be carrying 100 ounces of gold on your neck. Now, granted, that would be about 6, 7 pounds. You want to have a strong neck, but just imagine yourself looking like Mr. T, traveling internationally with your jewelry on, and you could literally be walking around with a couple $1 million of gold on you, and it's jewelry. So even if worst case scenario, your government goes full authoritarian and outlaws gold like the U.S. did for 40 years, your towels is a good way to hold some of your physical gold. It won't be confiscated. Now, when it comes to like just buying bullion, when I say bullion, that's basically the 1 ounce coins of gold and silver. I recommend you want to have 80% silver, 20% gold. The reason why silver is easy to use to buy small things, gold is only for large purchases. Um, Couple of things that are more advanced strategy I learned from billionaires. You want to hold 70% physical metals and 30% digital gold and silver. You can hold Paxos Gold, Tether Gold, Vaultoro is a good place to buy digital silver. These are good for international transactions. Now, when it comes back to the physical, uh, you can buy from a local coin dealer in the United States. You can bring $9,990 of cash to your local coin dealer and buy gold and silver coins and Johnson Matthey bars without having to show them your ID, with full privacy. So I recommend if you're going to buy, say, $100 or $200,000 worth of gold and silver, physical, bring twice a month, go withdraw 4,900, or you can even do it once a week. 4,900 out of the bank. That will stay under the 5,000 threshold for a suspicious activity report. Every 2 weeks, go buy 10 grand worth of gold and silver at your local coin dealer. You can have it with full privacy. Never have to show them your ID. And last but not least, if the grid goes down, like happened in Michigan and Ohio and Pennsylvania, and New York in 2004 for like 11 days, people will gladly, when credit cards don't work, you want to have some cash on you where you can buy gas, groceries, basic stuff for cash when you run out of your cash. When you run out of your cash, then you start paying people with silver. And lastly, you can pay them with gold. So do it in that order. So private payments. This is really the scenario that would be worst case if CBDCs and digital IDs get rolled out in your country. Then that's a really bad scenario because those can be combined to just turn your money off, and if you don't comply with government mandates, or your ID could be stolen, like happened in India. To get biblical, the Bible describes that as a mark of the beast or 666. If you had a digital ID and CBDC like implanted into your hand or your forehead, and they've already tested that technology MasterCard has in Europe for several years, putting a little thing in the hand and people paying by scanning their hand. So there's a couple of options if your particular government did go full tyrannical and force CBDCs on you. Number one, you could comply, give up your freedom. I do not recommend that because I believe we humans have a soul, and that's not something you should do lightly. Number two, you could live off the grid, hunt, plant, purify water, make your own heat. Militaries in the United States have said that in a scenario where the grid went out, or if people had to live off grid, 90% of people would die. Most people had those skills 100 years ago, and I think it's smart to acquire those skills again, just to know how to be more self-sufficient and more sovereign. But I don't think that you want to be like forced to have to do that. What if there was a third option? Your third option could be if you can work with values-aligned banks, payment partners, and governments to do commerce with others. You can have full privacy and full sovereignty, but they must be fully values aligned. So how could you do number three? The challenge is this. There's only enough physical gold for each person in the world to have 2 ounces, and that's only like under $10,000 worth. Also, finding values aligned banks, payment partners, and governments is not easy to do. How do I know this? My company, Gold Plus Coin, has invested over $1 million in the last 3 years, putting together a network of values aligned vendors to help you preserve your financial freedom and privacy. So I know how much work that it takes. There are three solutions that we're planning to offer with Gold Plus Coin. The first one is 2 ounces of gold per person is simply not enough. So we are buying gold mines around the world, tokenizing their gold in the ground with full international securities compliance. So the nice thing is there are several patents that help you do that, and we have access to those patents for complying with them. That's how we know we have full international securities compliance. Right now we have 150 billion under contract, and we're working to get another 120 billion to 140 billion from a couple more mines under contract right now. Second of all, we have found so far 4 values aligned banks as well as 2 payment processors to work with us to allow people to spend digital gold and digital silver like Gold Plus Coin and also a silver coin in the near future as easily as you would spend dollars, euros, or pesos right now. The third solution that we have is we're working strategically with governments. So we have 2 partners that have been speaking with the U.S. Treasury, as well as a third contact talking with multiple people in U.S. Treasury and a few other nations' governments about helping them to back their currencies with gold again. That would maximize their citizens' wealth and eliminate inflation or greatly minimize inflation. So at this point, you have 2 options to fully preserve your wealth and your financial freedom and privacy. Number one, if you're not an accredited investor, that means you make less than $250,000 a year or you have less than $1 million net worth. I encourage you read our PDF and watch our 42-minute video at goldpluscoin.com/protect. That will show you in the next 2 weeks how in only 6 to 8 hours you can diversify your money with very, very specific strategies I learned from billionaires using metals, crypto, and cash. So it goes much more in depth than I did in the previous few slides on the metals and cash strategies. Now, if you are an accredited investor and you would like to help GPC to fulfill our vision to tokenize 500 billion plus of gold in the next few years and to help maximize and preserve the financial freedom of millions of people worldwide, then schedule a consult with us. There are 2 ways that you can do that. Number one, our preferred, text us on Signal or WhatsApp if you have those. If not, regular text is okay at +1 248 325 8872. Or you can email us drnewby, like Dr. Newby, at goldpluscoin.com. Include in the text or the email 2 to 3 good days and times, including your time zone to talk, and we'll confirm an appointment time with you within 1 business day. Thank you so much for your time today. I wish you Godspeed on your efforts to protect and grow your family's legacy, and God bless you. Bye for now.